Here we are. It's been a week. Welcome, welcome. Today is the 11th of May. All is well. It is done as we quantum shift ourselves and our world into miraculous outcomes. Ooh, yeah. There is, in my world, and I will be the first to admit that I sometimes live in a world that is not accessible to the normal public.
I love that description. It's so familiar.
Oh my goodness. I was, some of you know that I do the global consciousness group on Tuesdays earlier in the day, and I haven't been doing it a lot because I had this job thing that took a lot of my time. But I was on for the full hour this morning, and we did this work that I don't know what happened. I just like, it was like huge work, like energetic work, and just like, and then we were checking in about it, and I'm like sleepy. I'm like, oh, I can hardly keep my eyes open. Granted, it's 9 o'clock in the morning here. We're done by 10. So it's not like I'd had a long day yet. Although I had, anyway. And we hung up from that call, and I'm like, I can't keep my eyes open. I laid down on my couch, which is not comfortable, and I didn't move for 2 full hours, including I didn't hear any of the text in, and I heard the phone. I'm like, there's no way I can answer that phone right now. 2 hours. I was like out of my body. I was gone. It was reminiscent of Joshua Tree, and holy, still don't know exactly what happened, but here's what Solara said about it. Because I typed a thing, I went, oh my God, what just happened? She goes, wow, that's surprising and amazing. Tuning in to see what you're up to. You seem to be out in the glory realms. There's light pouring through you onto the earth. You're like a lightning rod for it, attracting and pouring it into everything. It's like supernova going off here and there and all around you. I've linked up with you to help, and it really does seem to be yours to do, and you seem to be quite masterful doing it. Wow. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I still don't know exactly what just happened, but it was big work. But I feel like we've been doing big work, whether we're conscious of it or not. And one of the other big works that we were doing, whether you knew it or not, and you didn't know this one at all, was Kate, who has just been with us for a few sessions and is not with us now. So Linda, you haven't met Kate, has I don't know directly the relationship, but Andy, I think might be her wife's son. I'm not exactly sure. And Andy's son, Colton, fell into a pool in Iowa over the weekend and was rushed to ICU, and he was cold, and it was really scary and not breathing, and he's had absolute miraculous outcomes. The doctors have said they cannot believe how well he was recovering, but it was the whole scary thing. And she had texted me right when she heard about it, and I'm like, oh wow. And then so we were going back and forth. She goes, I can't hardly breathe. I go, I know, I get it, but breathe for him. Do the big work for him. So calling on the quantum burst, because we have this container, and doing the work, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's such powerful work. He's fine. That was on Friday, and on Sunday he had his 3rd birthday party. Fully back, celebrating 100% as far as anybody can tell. And of course they're still worried about him. I'm like, no, you know what? He's fine. He's not only fine, he's like initiated at some level. Like there was something really big happening that, I don't take any credit, but just like tapping into the energy fields of what is possible. It's like, so like the veils between reality and where we're living are so thin right now. It's like crazy.
It sounds like a new type of baptism for him almost. I hate to see it. It's like he was immersed in Wow.
And of course, his dad, his parents, the neighbors who came to help are so traumatized. It's like, oh, so disturbing. And yet miraculous, and to be able to be witness to and be able to be a part of, and we all know it's totally way easier if you're not hooked in emotionally, right? Which I think is part of the work too, is to stand. So here's my experience. This is actually where I started out, where I was going to talk about, because I've had it for a few weeks. So, well, since I left Austin, which hasn't even been a few weeks, but I feel like here's the world as we know it with all the stuff. And here's where we're playing. And it used to be, we used to touch here, and then we'd hang out here. And it feels like, because part of what I'm like, okay, well, what's next for me work-wise? And what's coming and what's alive and what's moving. And I keep getting rest, and that's such a foreign word. I don't know what it means, but obviously I got it this morning. But it's like we get to do the work of the world from this place, which feel how that tips the scale. Like, Steve's got a job and he has to deal with people and whatever programs and all the stuff that you have to deal with. I mean, we all have life, right? But it's like when you land here and then you just go touch that, it's like none of it matters. Or it matters, like you don't get hooked. Or if you get hooked, you get hooked for a day, not a decade, right? Or whatever. That's sort of extreme. But what's happening in the new reality, in the new humanity now, in the new possibility is exquisitely beautiful and powerful. And it's completely related to what's going on here without, if that makes any sense. That's what I've been playing with as I've been sort of resting and sitting and creating spaciousness around in my being. So that's my check-in for today. So what's moving in you, either related to this or anything that's up for you today as we bring our energy into the container, and then we'll line up here in a minute. So checking in. What else? Linda got to go to the road show. Why don't you tell us about the road show, the Healy road show?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Well, I don't know what to say, but there's so much going on that I'll just talk. And I don't mind talking first. So the road show was so incredibly amazing. I mean, it was transformative for me. I really feel like it's shifted me into the awareness of my heart and my being in a way that I haven't felt for years. I used to live in it, and part of when I moved here, there was a lot of heartbreak, and I've just been trying to pull myself out. And I just felt so at home and acknowledged by friends. And there was, so many different people that, I used to be an event coordinator, and the person who was like sort of overseeing the assistants, I did the first day, the business workshop, on Friday first. And at the end, they said they still need volunteers to help, if anybody could help stuff the, bags and stuff for Saturday morning. And I was like, well, that's a good way to meet people. And I had some time, so I went. And, that's like second nature to me, because I've done that kind of work for so many years. And so we were just doing it and talking and stuff. But there was a problem with one of the inserts getting sort of mixed up. And so I had an idea about fixing it. And there was this person, Jana, I think her name was she was sort of the person overseeing the assistants. And I just, she said, "You're really smart." she just recognized. And I said, "Oh, that's because I've been an event coordinator for so many years." And she was like, "Me too." And we both gave it up, and we both had this, so it was just a really nice connection. And then, so that kind of acknowledgement supported me in being with strangers. You know, it was just, I felt like I was more at home. And then as the day went on, actually I was on the registration. That's what she kept on calling on me, saying whenever something would come up and she was busy, she'd say, Linda, would you go do this? Because she knew that I would be able to do things quickly. And so one thing was she put me on the registration team, which I really don't like, but I said yes. And I was sitting there and Doc Steve came over, and I've known Doc Steve for many, many, many years, because we're in the same spiritual group in Los Angeles. And it was just a really, I mean, he didn't even recognize me because I've lost a lot of weight. I'm a whole different person. And, you know, so he, at first I was like, Linda Searle. And he was like, huh, you know, and he kept looking at me, and he was like, oh my God. And I said, yeah, I've changed a lot. And I said, it's not just my body, but I'm different. And he was like, you know, so it was a very nice acknowledgement. And he ended up inviting me. He actually pulled me away from the crowd to talk to me for a while. We talked about our church and how things had changed, and all. It was like old timers talking about all the new stuff that's going on. It was just such a nice, inclusive feeling. And then he invited me to have lunch with him, which included, he was having lunch with all these other directors from Healy. And so I got to be involved with this amazing group that I was like blown away. And I've just felt my heart so wide open, and I'm feeling so transformed. You know, it's like it's part of the prayer I've been asking for, and it's coming to fruition. I left so jazzed and stuff. And I come back and I'm like, I'm ready to do this. But then life you know, it's like, oh yeah, but I got to do, oh yeah, and there's this, and you know, so I'm still working out how or letting go of the fears of not being able, you know, not knowing. It's like, I don't know how to do it, which where I was there, I felt like I can do this. I know how to do this. Now I'm like, I don't know how to do it, but I know. So this is a whole new life I'm stepping into, and I'm very excited and aware of my fears, but I'm excited. So
That's so awesome.
yeah.
And
It's
this,
pretty
I
cool.
just, you know, whenever we met a month or 2 months, couple months ago, it's like you were so ready. So all of this is conspired
Yeah.
for you.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there was a whole thing where they were talking about people creating this. How many people think you created this for yourself? And everybody's like, yes. You know, it's like a lot of people feeling that the different energies coming together at this point to say, let's take these next steps. So
Awesome.
very exciting time for all of us. You know,
Yeah. Very cool.
it's fun to be part of it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you had an adventure this week too.
Yes.
Adventure.
I didn't hear that. Hi, I'm sorry. Who did you just say?
I said you.
Me. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was kind of just feeling all the energy of what you're speaking about, because before I came on the call, I've just been, you know, had things to do part of the day, but I just got super tired around 3 something, just tired. Now, in all fairness, I eat a little ice cream drumstick, and you get from the ice cream man on, and I had just an adverse reaction to it. I mean, I really felt awful after I ate it, and an energy sagged, and so I just really went down and you know, bounced back up, and I thought, man, I am feeling low energy for this call, and then I realized I just use so many old labels sometimes whenever I'm in a different space, and it's not, there's low energy just doesn't really say it. It doesn't say it at all. But, you know, I want to say this because I went to see, you know, I got to see my daughter and my grandson after 17 months of not seeing them. And we had a very easy time. None of us were, we had some events scheduled on one day and a couple of unexpected or something unexpected with this concert, which hadn't been scheduled when I planned the trip. And we got to see my grandson in the glory of, he loves music. And this was his high school, end of the school year concert. And the first time they've done it together, any of the singers together, and much less in public. They've all been on Zoom calls and they can't all hear each other. They just have to learn their parts. So they came together and it was so fun watching them blend and mold together, as a group, and share it with their parents and family. And Colorado is still very, mask mandate, and you are very, they're very uber cautious, very not Texas in a lot of ways. But anyway, the whole time I was with them, and like I said, it was easy. We'd go do things, and if we needed to come in and rest and take a nap or talk for a while or whatever. And part of me kept thinking the whole time, why do I feel so different with them? Is it because I've been gone from them for so long? But it was, let's see if this just comes up. In a way, I felt utterly detached from them, even while I was with them. And at first I kind of had a quandary about that because I thought, oh my gosh, I just don't feel as connected. And as you guys were talking earlier, I realized I just view them differently now. I still passionately love my grandson, I love my daughter, but I don't feel any of their stuff anymore. I don't feel their, and not that they were flinging a lot out, but there just is, they're just in it, and let my daughter talk and tell more of her story. And I found myself greeting them with not only that 17 months, but like, who are you now? Who are you? I used to say that to my grandson each time I meet him, and he'd go, Grandma, you know me. Well, this time it was like, show, you want to tell me who you are? It felt so different. And for a while I felt detached, and I thought, oh my God, do I just not care for them in the same way? But it was different than that. I don't even know how to label it other than to say I could be with them and I could enjoy them. And I felt nothing, there was no drama around anything. There was just, even if there could have been at moments, there just wasn't. And it was a very unique feeling, and it felt, detached is the only word I could come up with, but it doesn't feel like detached is right. Not hooked is right, if that makes sense. And even if nobody was trying to do it, it was very different. It was just, and I'm still kind of processing it, going, it was so different. It was so easy, but it was so non-judgmental, not, it was just, I don't know how to say it anymore. That I feel like I'm in not a state of confusion, but just a state of, it's so different. I don't even know how to package it yet, if it needs to be.
It's kind of like this.
It's kind of like that. And
Like you could witness all this without being enmeshed. How many years have you been working on that separation, detachment that now you have? Oh, well, that feels different.
yeah, I think about JT.
Not working on it, right?
Yeah, and JT, I had some major hooks from whether it was past life experiences or whatever. It was just, and this time it was like, yeah. And it was really so peaceful. It was just so peaceful. To say it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing. And we'll let Gloria share now, because it looks like maybe you have a little time and space to speak. Gloria, is that true?
Yeah, you little mind reader, you.
Had to do
I'm
with
sitting in
video
the
being on, but
Walmart.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the Walmart parking lot, so, and I'm in the car by myself. So, yeah, this might be perfect. So, I am so glad I could join all of you, and it's just like a breath of fresh air. And just when you said the intention at the beginning, Eliza, it was a powerful reminder about the miraculous outcomes, because I'd forgotten a little bit about that over this last week. I originally was going to be flying out today to San Antonio, And then last Friday, I got a call from a hospice nurse and then also from the owner of the home where my dad is. And they felt that he was beginning his transition and that I needed to get out there sooner than later. So we couldn't wait till Tuesday. So my brother and I very quickly pulled everything together and started driving the next day, Saturday morning, and drove from Florida to San Antonio, not knowing what was going to happen. And really concerned. We think my dad might have had a mini stroke or something had happened. And the nurse is telling us, you know, it could be any time. So trying to deal with that level of grief, you know, and then all that's, you know, all the work that's just associated around this. And then my dad he just lit up and we came in to see him and he was in bed and then they were able to get him up into the wheelchair and bring him into the living room. And he like kind of talked to us a little bit. Just it's like, oh, okay. So, you know, he does better when we're here. And then the next day he seemed a little better. He's not so good in the mornings, but then he talked to us a little bit. And he wasn't able to eat solid foods. He was just doing liquids. And then each day he's just a little bit better. And then this morning the hospice nurse said, well, we're going to take him off the daily visits and we're going to do every other day now. She says, because she thought he was in the rallying phase, which happens when they're dying, and then the family comes back so they can say their goodbyes. And she says, I don't think he's rallying. She said, I think he's in recovery. She said, I think he's recovering from a mini stroke. She says, you know, we still don't know what's going to happen. They're not making any promises. She says, but, you know, he seems to be doing a little bit better. And today he ate an enchilada for lunch. They had to feed it to him. And I thought, isn't this miraculous? And, you know, we've been trying to figure out, because we need to be here. We realize this. We've got to alternate. And it's really expensive living in a hotel. We're at a Residence Inn. And just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And then my brother talked to the hotel because he'd had a problem with his room. And all of a sudden, the general manager and the assistant manager start talking to us. We explain what's going on. And they're like, oh, well, we can give you the first responders rate. So we can get a 1-bedroom suite with a kitchen at Residence Inn for $59 a night plus tax. I'm just like, oh my God.
Wow.
And I just made a month-long reservation at the Residence Inn, you know, and we can cancel it. But my heart just got so full. And I was just reminded, wow, there have just been these series of what were for me miraculous outcomes that I don't know what's going to happen. You know, so I'm trying not to set expectations, but, you know, just for today, it felt like the universe was flowing in and there was support. And we had such a wonderful visit with my dad this afternoon and he was talking more. You know, it's just, I'm just staying open, I'm trying to keep my heart open.
Yeah.
But it was so lovely.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You know, and then to be reminded, you know, when I heard you all speaking, it's like, yes, there are miraculous outcomes. I can't change the circumstances of the world. I can't bend it to my will as much as I would like to. But I can be appreciative of these beautiful moments. And when people rush to help you, and when they show you this kindness, you know, when you're in the midst of family crises, there is goodness. So seeking out the goodness.
Beautiful.
And, you know, so I sought out the goodness today to connect with all of you. What a
Yeah.
gift. I can sit out here in the parking lot and connect at a heart level.
And you say to your brother, take an hour, please. Do not hurry through that store.
I know. Well, he usually likes to take his time anyway, so I don't think it'll be a problem. But
Oh, that's
yeah, so yeah, you know, I know that death is a part of life, and that I can't just keep that away forever, but not today. So.
And remind us what your dad's first name is.
Well, he goes by Lee.
Lee. So we'll just include him in our quantum bursts, and we just also work on
Thank you.
highest and best for his soul and peace for you when the time comes.
Thank you.
Well done. Job well done, Lee. Yeah, we have a whole list of ways that might not be evidence, but job well done, life well lived.
Yes. He's so happy to have his kids here.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So maybe just having children around is a healing influence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Thanks, Gloria. Whew. And Steve.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I was thinking a little bit when we first started, like, ho hum. I don't have any big, um, um, insight that has come through, or didn't do much of anything different. And all of a sudden, it's like, excuse me, of course you did. And so while Nancy was gone, I booked a float, in the isolation tanks, and it's the first one we'd done since the pandemic started, and just got an okay to, I just heard an okay to go do that, and we tried to book one, about 2 months earlier, Nance, or something like that, and man, we came to the day and it's like it was a definite no,
Yeah.
do not go, and so went over to float on Friday night and just had a delightful time because you're just sensory deprivation, you're just there in a dark space floating in this environment, and it was really cool. The next night, I went over to a cooking class, Thai cooking class, and had a good time doing that. I'll never cook Thai food. That was one thing I learned. It's way too complex for me, too many sauces and things that are just over the top with salt and stuff like that. But anyway, it was great fun. I had a good time. Lots of people around, and that's something we haven't really been doing. Is we haven't been around a lot of people. I mean, God, when you came over, Eliza, we were like, Eliza's here, yay! We got somebody new and different, and so just but being around people was a big deal. It's the energy of doing that. And then today and yesterday, easy days in the work environment, and so looking for the next adventures that come along.
Cool. So lots of movement, really, like all of us. So let's line up with our the power that we have. And what do we think? Somebody have something that you really want to run to get us started today? Often we start with all Healy programs, but we don't have to. We can start anywhere.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Looks like Nancy's moving on something. All right.
All Healys are fine with me too.
Okay. Awesome. So let's just begin before we even start the analysis. Let's just begin and bring our energy together as we were doing just by coming into this call, but also by sharing. And so just feeling the container, feeling the intention of really doing the big work individually, but also collectively. And so I thought today it'd be fun to really feel the collective, feel the weave of this particular group of people as we lean into our intention. You can add your personal intention in as well. But for all of us, all is well, it is done. As we quantum shift ourselves and our world into miraculous outcomes. And we're going to scan. As we're scanning, just allow your awareness to drop into that still point, come into center point. And what we start with, this is for you and me, Nancy. This first one comes up is sleep. For us nappers. Oh, Linda too. Second one is meridians 2. Third one is gold. Fourth one is the watch meridians, which is a different, it's more of the, I forget the word. where you track your cycles, like your sleep cycles, biorhythms. It's more like a biorhythm meridian. And then bioenergetic harmony 2, which used to be bioenergetic balance 2. Finally, I caught up with your harmony, Steve. Took months. Finally got harmony. So let us vibrate those 2 minutes. That was a question. All right, so finding that point of just lined up together. And feeling the weaving of the 5 of us as we open ourselves to all is well. It is done. As we quantum shift ourselves and our world into miraculous outcomes. And we start those vibrations now. And that is complete. What'd you notice? What'd you experience?
I'll go. I I started to complain that my mind was too, I was just going over a lot of complaining. and I was aware that underneath, inside or above that was a connection that was really strong. And I became aware, it was like, oh, this is the stuff for me to let go of, and so I started doing forgiveness and things to just let go. And it's just this space opened up of well-being and of a lot of things. I'll just call it consciousness and openness and that expansiveness that's sort of feels like everything and nothing, loving, it's just full of the loving and very sweet.
Nice. Very cool.
Well, I had two diametrically different portions to my time in the quietness, and one was like it was. I wanted to say it was like the Taurus that we talked about often, but this was more like a nautilus shell because they kept going around and around and seeing new territories. It was that kind of that whitish pink that you see on the inside of a shell, very peaceful. Um, and I passed a couple of folks as I was walking through, and there wasn't really a strong acknowledgement, but there wasn't any kind of strangeness about it either. And then I went into kind of a void space where I just kind of went down and down. And the next thing I know, and it may have been brought on by hearing some wind or something outside, but next thing I know, I'm at something like similar to what a downtown Austin sidewalk looks like, where you got a lot of folks rummaging around and, just the energy is not where you want to be always, so the wind is blowing really hard and I'm aware that I'm like rolling around, laying down prone on the side of the street. And there's all kinds of like sand and all, and it's on the sides of my face, kind of abrading and all. It's like, wow, what is this? I went from this peaceful nautilus shell experience to rummaging around on the sidewalk. And I don't know, I'll probably have to play with that one later. So, but that was my experience.
Yeah.
Like polar opposites,
Well, maybe it's that parallel plane kind of thing.
Yeah. Get up out of the dirt, boy.
Yeah. Or go rummage in it, who cares? Either way.
It was actually painful, on the side of my face and all from rolling around in it, but
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll jump in if Glory can't speak right now too. When I was utterly peaceful in it when we started, just in that space I'm kind of been in, but I saw things that would hook me, and one was this news story I had seen, and another one is things I've been saying about a little bit about myself and some self messaging, and without even doing anything other than seeing them, I physically just took them and made them so very, very small. So very, very small that, and not trying to make them go away. And they just virtually, I'm not sure where they've gone. And I saw I'm just going to sound just wild, but the coronavirus, and I took it, and it's a teeny tiny thing anyway, but we just deal with it, and it just looms so there. It can almost be bigger than it needs to be, and it went down very, very small. And then I felt, and it, and I was having the thought like, this just feels like it's one of those easy ones where and I took that thought and that it wasn't going to yield much and kind of did that to it. And I felt myself just so ever gently rising up, and without wanting to be anything, without wanting to be anything. But I felt there was kind of a cellular membrane. It's like cellophane was around me, not a tunnel or a vessel, but like cellophane. And I remember having the thought, well, what's this cellophane about? And the quick thought was, oh, that's you still just think you're separate. You just still think you're separate. And if that's what you have to, if that's your container, that's fine. And just totally felt lifted up and beyond and heard. You'll just keep yourself faint until you're ready to really not only burst out, but stay out. It's okay. You just need your cellophane right now. It was just, that's, it was utterly peaceful though, and much less chatty than that. Peaceful.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Lori.
Well, it was funny. I think I had kind of an experience similar to Steve, because it did feel calm and peaceful. And then I got a phone call from my brother from Walmart in the midst of it. But then as soon as I hung up, it's like, oh, I just tried to resume, even though we were done.
Oh, you muted yourself somehow.
Calling again. That's so interesting. My mind was really busy, and I decided, it's like, I can just watch it. I can be an observer and notice what's going on. And there are all these worries and concerns and all this stuff that I'm, have problems, quote, that I have to solve. But then I was also aware of this other part of me, and it's kind of like you talked about at the beginning of the call about where am I choosing to land. And I do get pulled. I'm almost like, the baby kitten that gets grabbed at the neck, scruff of the neck by the mother. Sometimes I feel like life has been grabbing me by the scruff of the neck. And so there's that part, but then there's also the part of me that's watching it and is observing and is still and is quiet. And that's the real me, that's my true self. So I want to be reminded of that, every time I feel like I'm getting picked up by the scruff of the neck, that I can just observe it and just notice it. And that as you were saying there, Nancy, I could burst out of it. I could burst out of the scruff just by where I choose to put my consciousness. So I'm going to end here, and I got to call my brother back. Thanks for listening.
Awesome.
I had an interesting observation that came through about her scruff of the neck. And that's the mama cat usually does it to move the kittens to safety. So it's like a safe thing.
I kind of had a sense, I don't think she's listening right now because she's made that call, but I kind of had a sense that the scruff of the neck was moving her into the cellophane that Nancy explained. Like instead of being kind of like you were saying, it's like, and certainly to use it as a reminder and not a trigger, but a reminder like, oh yeah, choose again.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Gems?
What was your experience?
Oh, mine, I forgot. Mine was very interesting. It was like, and I sort of set up the weaving, but I felt like what that experience was for me was the weaving of the five of us that kind of became the basket, but that actually became like the pedestal, not in a negative, like up on a pedestal, but the pedestal from which we do the work. So it was really like a foundational weaving of the collective of this group for me. And it was, I mean, I think that's it, but it was, the foundational piece was very apparent, the moving together and like getting ready to start, like not like the starting gate, but like maybe like the diving board or something like ready to do what the big work is that we're to do together.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt preparatory and foundational. Yeah, thanks for asking. I forgot that I hadn't shared.
Yeah.
All right. Gems?
Works for me.
Have you all played with
Works for me too.
like that creative homeopathy or any of those?
I did that a couple of times, actually.
That's pretty wild.
There's some things there I've never heard of before, so there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And the background on that, the lady that put those together, it's her whole life work, and she's really well known in Europe.
Hmm.
It's a whole science that she has, I don't know what happens, how it happens, but she is gifted, or maybe she was paid, right? But she's gifted this whole science to us, to Healy. Pretty cool. All right, I can't, they've moved it all around, but all right, all is well. It is done. As we quantum shift ourselves and our world into miraculous outcomes. I'll start the analysis. Lining up with our intention. It's still analyzing, but I noticed it's got a 2 next to it. I've never done that before. Alaskan gem elixirs 2. Wonder if there's a second one. Do you see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, I do see that.
I've never noticed that before.
No.
Looks like our same gems though, so doesn't look like a different program. First one is aquamarine. Brings a calm, quiet clarity to an overactive mental body. Just breathe into that. Increases one's ability to achieve a neutral, serene state of mind. Helps one create a mental oasis of cool, clear receptivity. Jadeite jade, a vibration of peace, balance, and timeless simplicity. Helps us stay centered in the moment with an awareness and acceptance of our true essence. Chrysocolla opens, softens, and expands the inner dimensions of the heart chakra. Helps us release tension and armoring around giving and receiving love. Increases flexibility in the mind and body to allow the vibration of love to flow. Smoky quartz, grounding and calming, synchronizes body energy with earth energy, regulates and stabilizes the detoxification of unwanted energies from the physical, emotional, and mental bodies. Sugilite, let's see if you can see that.
Yes, Sugilite.
Sugilite brings depth and a physical richness to our spiritual lives. Helps us physically manifest a warmer, more feminine quality of spirituality. Promotes an easy acceptance of, rather than a hard striving for, the spiritual realm. What do you notice about all those?
Well, I think chrysocolla and aquamarine are very much in the same vein of that kind of peaceful balance, easy energy.
I think we've been getting that one so often
Yeah.
that, and I had written down, I don't have my notebook with me right now, but last week it said, I want an aquamarine ring. I'm going to get me one of those. And I had never, ever thought that. And I don't wear a lot of ring jewelry. And I thought, I just want that. And that actually describes a lot of how I have felt over this whole past weekend of, so, and think how often we get that one from when we started this whole thing. It's like, wow, it's finally, it's like, you always say, it's like feeling really landed in it. And at the end, I don't remember the last one you're talking about, but I was realizing that there is no striving in this, for me right now in this work. There's no feeling of striving, which makes it kind of no yearning. Does that make sense? That's a release of some things that you always felt needed to be there as kind of a propellant.
Yeah. My awareness in reading them all was just that, just again, that softening and opening, that consistent, that just, which kind of goes with the lack of striving, the acceptance, and like we don't have to, like it just is. Yeah.
That's what it was like for me. Well, everything that, as you were reading it, I was like, oh yes, oh yeah, oh that too. And then when it got to the end and it was the no striving, it's like that really encompassed for me the whole. There is a lot that I'm asking for about clarity and next steps and that kind of thing, but it's really about knowing that it's all taking place just through my intention and allowing that rather than feeling like I have to make it happen.
Yeah. All right, 1, 2. Anything else? Did you want to say something else, Steve? Ooh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
It's the Sugalite.
It's purpley, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know that it comes through really well on the video, but it's a rich, full purple, just,
Wow.
I'll post it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Please do. All right, we'll do 1 minute, 20 seconds if everybody's good with that.
Yeah.
Whew, feeling all of that, starting where we've been, leaving off, letting that, all of that be. And this is just taking us to the next level. All is well, it is done. As we quantum shift ourselves and our world into miraculous outcome, not by striving for, but by allowing and receiving. Vibrating, starting now. And that is complete. With your experience. Laura, you want to start us off?
Yeah. As soon as you started that frequency, I was just sitting here, and all of a sudden, I just started to get this little smile on my face. It's like, I'm not intentionally smiling, but it's just like it was a smile that came from the inside and just expressed itself outward. It's like, isn't that interesting? It was so sweet. It was just like this sweet feeling of being embraced, like from the inside out, and just feeling that the universe loves me, just as the universe loves all of us. And I was thinking about my father, of him having that experience, feeling that just that sweet love, that just you just cuddle up in. That was an interesting experience. That doesn't happen. You're just like, oh, I'm smiling. So thank you for that.
Yeah, beautiful. If you haven't put your dad in your Healy, you might consider doing that.
He gets a session every morning and every evening.
Beautiful. I figured you
No,
had.
thank you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he was still living with you when you got it. When you started.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, really, the Sugalite really was a pickup for me just in terms of vibratory energy and looking at that beautiful color of it, and that's where I first went when we closed our eyes. But as the time proceeded, I began to feel the word you've been using all night. Weave, begin to feel the energy of these minerals weave together. And I thought, now that's really interesting to have something as hard as a stone or a crystal weave, and it's like let go of what should be, what shouldn't be. You're talking about energetics here. You're not talking about a rock weaving itself to another rock. It was very. The word that comes is just energizing, is what it was.
Cool. Very cool.
I can relate to Glory's smile. I don't know if I even would have said it, but it's like it was an inner. She had an outer. I felt the inner smile at and a little bit going. Are you still going to be astonished that you feel this today? And it was a smile and a little bit of laughter, but I felt the sugar light, and I really don't know that I even resonate totally with what you said it was. I remember some of the words, but I felt it here, and I felt the aquamarine really running it, and it had been such pure non-color up until the colors coming in, and much like Steve, it's like it was through here, and it's like, no, it has nothing to do with the hardness of the gem. And I could just feel today has been one of those very foggy, kind of a little bit overcast, not raining yet, but you can tell the system is a little bit held down atmospherically, kind of held down a little bit, and that just shone through. I could just feel it going past my cellophane, and the cellophane was still there. It just didn't matter, if that makes any sense. And it felt utterly lifted. It's what comes to mind. Lifted.
Very cool.
Well, I'm enjoying hearing all these descriptions because I noticed a lot of well, I resonated with all of what you said, obviously. So I'm for me, it was the only words I have really to describe it was that inner peace and that the well-being and just sort of floating in that, and the awareness of the well-being, really. And so as you each described what you did, it was like, oh yeah, that was there too. Oh yeah, that was there. So it was very nice.
Very cool. Mine was different. It goes back to Steve's initial paradoxical, completely unrelated. I got this like heartache on my right side underneath my rib. Like it felt like a heartache, even though my heart's up over here. And then it was like, oh, it's just like I felt all of the energy around each of the stones moving around it, but just with this acceptance. It wasn't like a big healing. It wasn't like a big change. It wasn't like a big shift. In fact, I still feel it. It's like kind of now it's over. It's weird. It's like, oh, it's not sharp. It's not dull. but it's definitely there. And yet at the same time, what I felt with those vibrations, with those frequencies, was that softening, like acceptance, allowing, perhaps healing at some level of whatever that is. And I didn't feel like I needed to necessarily know what it was, but it's like, I don't think I've ever felt like start the vibrations. It's like, oh, that hurts kind of in a physical way. So very fascinating. One of the things that I wanted to remind us is the power of the intention when we do this work. And somewhere along the line in the last week or two, I had a thought. I don't know if somebody asked me the question or I had the question myself, but it's like, how does this really, how are we really doing what we're doing and getting these amazing things when we're running, like say mental balance or, pain cycle or whatever. And the answer that came was every time we run any of these frequencies, we are informing our bioenergetic field to come into resonance. Every time our system comes into resonance and coherence, everything can open up. So it's raising our vibration with the intentions of the programs that come up, but with the intention that we intend. And it's just bringing us to like this still point of infinite possibilities. So I don't know if that was important to say right now, but it had occurred to me to speak into that for just a moment. So, wow. So let's line up with all of what we experienced today, melding it, weaving it, and then what we do is we lift, 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 and gift it to the universe. We do that 3 times. And the 3rd time that we gift it to the universe, we feel it circling around the globe and coming back and entering our own circle and our own being, I guess. So all that we experienced and the collective of what we experienced, because like Linda said, everybody speaks and there's aspects of it that we're like, oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that too. So we lift it, we combine it all together collectively, and we lift it, and we lift it, and we lift it, and we just gift it to the universe, all of these amazing vibrations, this incredible intention, and all that we experience. Just feel it moving and come back. We lift it from the center of our being. We lift it. It's turning up the volume, turning up the flame. Lift, 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 gift. Really feel it as you gift it. Coming back around, lifting it again from the core of our being. Lift it, lift it, lift it, and we gift it. We gift it freely. This time, feel it encircling the globe. These high vibrations, this high intention. As it encircles the globe, feel it come all the way right back around and open to receive it yet again. Through your crown, your hands, your heart, anywhere you receive it, bioenergetically, electromagnetically, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Let that smile, that inner and outer smile just arise, knowing that the work we do here is for each of us, for all of us, and for the world. And so it is. My tongue is tingling.
One last little image for your viewing pleasure.
Oh, cool.
It's
No.
chrysocolla.
Chrysical. Wow. Very cool. All right. Closing comments, thoughts.
Thank you all. What a beautiful gift. Bye-bye.
That was good timing, Lori. Linda, if you have, do you have just a minute? We can have that conversation we need to have.
Okay. Good night, all. Love you.
All right. So much love. Bye.